At this time, I'll call the meeting of the Marshall City Council to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening. We do have an agenda before us. Are there any changes to that agenda? If not, we'll operate under that agenda. Did you have anything? So we'll move then to agenda item number 1, which is consider the approval of the minutes from the meetings that were held on January 14th. The council does have the minutes. Are there any corrections to note at this time?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion by Craig, seconded by John to approve the minutes as they have been presented. We'll move to a vote. And we'll close the voting. And the motion does pass. We'll move then to agenda item number 2, consider authorization to purchase 2 Toro 3500D striping mowers for the Parks Department from MTI Distributing of Brooklyn Park and declare 2 of the existing Toro 3500D striping mower as surplus. With us tonight is Preston Stendrews from our Parks Department, and you can present this agenda item. Preston, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. A little background on this. These have been in the CIP. The first one of the 2 was in 24. The other one is in this year's CIP. These had really long lead times, so we verbally ordered them on 2023, knowing we weren't obligated to take them when they came in. We were just informed that the 2 we kind of verbally spoke for are here. If we would decide against them, there's no harm to us in doing that. MTI is the state contract holder. I also did price out John Deere's equivalent via the state contract out of Hastings. They are about $59,500 each. We have 2 of these now. One is 8 years old and one is 9 years old. And they're used for mowing strictly our ball fields. They mow at lower heights and do the striping. So kind of a specialty, no attachments or anything. But used daily during the summer. And one of the most important pieces of equipment on a ball field is kind of how your fields look. So this is what represents them well. With the offers that are in there from MTI, that's the 2023 state bid contract. They offered to hold that price. If you were to order them today on the new contract, they'd be about $1,000 more each. They allowed 14,000 trade. I'm confident that if we declare them surplus, we can achieve a higher number value for those mowers. If we accepted the trade, we would still be under budget. And obviously, if we could sell them for more, we'd be better off financially for whatever that value was. So,
Okay. And this was discussed by the Equipment Review Committee?
I don't think ever came to the equipment review. A, it's not an on-the-road piece of equipment, and then B, it's just specialty.
Okay, thank you.
When you order it, there's no options or anything. It just is what it is. So,
Yeah. Questions for Preston?
I have no questions, but I just was running numbers here. We lease our other mowers for about $3,000 or $4,000 a year, correct?
it costs us $5,000.
So this is actually over 8 years is cheaper than those mowers because these are running roughly $4,000 a year to run, and I mean I don't think that's a bad investment.
The good news with these is they don't get beat up probably as much because they're not mowing as much rough terrain and rough grasses, but they're still a lot higher grade of mower too. It's more of a like a greens to fairway comparison too. So I mean,
Yep, it's very similar to the greens. One thing, it's probably going a little farther than you guys care to know, but we used to have what's called a reel mower where the blades spin like this. There's no place in Marshall that we can have those sharpened, so we were sending them off somewhere. Very expensive to maintain. These will mow down to like 5/8 of an inch if you want to, but still a regular rotary blade that we can maintain. So it's lower cost of operating, but a nice quality cut. So it's kind of best of both for us.
Yeah, we're getting 8, 9 years old or more, they're just, I mean, they're getting old. I mean, 9-year-old mower is old.
So same thing we have, just replacing it. And like I said, to keep hosting the tournaments and stuff we do, I would say that this is essential. So
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve it with us trying to sell our own mowers because you believe we can get more money.
yep.
Motion by Jim, is there a second?
Second.
Second by C. Discussion? If not, move to a vote. Close the voting. And the motion does pass.
Thank you.
Thank you, Preston. Move then to the consent agenda. The items on the consent agenda include consider the approval of a lease agreement with Lutheran Social Services, consider the request of the Marshall Downtown Business Association for the St. Patrick's Day Parade on Saturday, March 15, 2025, and then consider the approval of the bills and the project payments. Any item on the consent agenda, any member wants removed? If not, is there a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda?
So move.
Second.
Motion by Craig, seconded by Amanda Schroeder. Discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. We'll close the voting. Motion passes. Move then to agenda item number 6, consider the advertisement for bids for the revised proposed Marshall Aquatic Center. I'll call first on City Administrator Sharon Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you see in your packet, there was a lengthy memo regarding this topic. We've been talking about this for quite some time. But let me just point out the most recent action by council, which was in December, that authorized Contegrity, who is our construction manager, and Stockwell to redesign the pool in order to fit the budget. In your packet, you have 2 images. The first image that was in the packet is the base bid, and there's a second image which would include some additional alternates. Some of the alternates, the big ones I can point out is a standalone splash pad, and there's some slides, and I want to have David kind of explain a little bit more about them as well. But we are tonight requesting authorization to advertise for bids. We did include in the memo a schedule. David from Stockwell will talk a little bit about currently where we're at with the design and the next steps in that to get it ready for release in order to get the final bid documents to our contractors. And we also have Pete from Contegrity via Zoom to talk about a little bit about the budget and the timing of that. So, Mr. Mayor, if it's okay with you, David from Stockwell can further add conversation and information on the design.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Sharon. David?
David with Stockwell. Thank you, Mayor, Council, for having me come tonight. As Sharon said, we've been working on the redesign of the Aquatic Center since you guys authorized that the middle of December. We've been working as a design team to put together a 95% construction documents, plans, and project manual that we submitted yesterday. And this Thursday, so in 2 days, we'll be doing a page turn of that plan review set with city staff and pool committee members to go through all of the site work, aquatics, building, kind of just go through the plan set, make sure that everything is covered and that everyone understands what's in there. City can go through questions, that sort of thing. The city is also doing its own review of these documents at this time, and we're also doing internal QA/QC reviews of the drawings as well. Next steps beyond that are then addressing any comments that come out of the meeting on Thursday or items that we need to go through, and then put together a final bid set, which Pete in a little bit will be talking about here. In regards to the design for the base bid, we have the Leisure Lifestyle Pool, the Leisure River, and then the kind of multi-purpose pool, which has the 2 diving boards, 4 lap lanes, and the option for additional features in that area. There's 1 slide incorporated with the base bid, and then all of the infrastructure necessary to have the facility up and running as a base bid, but then also kind of looking and planning for future improvements as well. We have 6 alternates identified as a part of the bid documents. Each of those alternates is split into a A and a B in order to give the city the most kind of options in regards to award of each of these features. So alternate number 1 is for the fly time slide, which is the kind of the green and white slide that goes into the multi-purpose pool. That's the one that kind of launches you out into the air and into the water. So that is alternate number 1. Alternate number 2 is the speed flume slide, which is kind of the blue and green one that goes into a run out that's just to the west of the plunge area of the Leisure River and the red and white slide, which is a part of the base bid. Alternate number 3 is then for the splash pad, which is on the north side of the site, and all of the site work and utilities, landscaping, kind of the additional fencing that goes along with that. For alternates 1, 2, and 3 that I just went through, there is an A and a B schedule with each one. The A schedule of each of those alternates is to put in the underground piping associated with each of those alternates. So that way it's more easily available to add those elements in the future if there's not the full funding available to fully award that alternate. You don't have to go through then and tear up concrete as a part of adding that element in the future. The B component then is for a fully functioning alternate. So it has all of the pumps, the electrical, all the different items in place to have a fully functioning element. Alternate number 4 is the climbing walls that are associated with the multi-purpose pool. Then alternate number 5 is additional spray features in the leisure and lifestyle pool. So in the 0 depth entry area, close to what you see as kind of the aquatics play structure, which is on the left-hand side of the leisure lifestyle pool. In the 0 depth entry area, there will be additional above ground spray features, interactive spray features for kids that would be incorporated as a part of alternate number 5. And then alternate number 6 is in relationship to the geotechnical report and the soils that we may find underneath this facility and on this site. So the alternates 6, A and B are in relationship to adding additional sand subbase underneath the pool decks around each of the pool vessels for the facility. So we've gone through, base bid and the 6 alternates then as a part of to give the city flexibility when it comes to bid award. And Pete can go through then now the timeline for advertisement and bidding.
Okay, before we move to Pete, any questions for David? Okay, Pete?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. As Dave and Sharon alluded to, we're in the final stages of trying to wrap up these documents to hit the streets with the bid. We are meeting, as was alluded to earlier, this Thursday to do a page turn, which will be kind of vital chance for us all to kind of dot the i's and cross the t's on the project. With that being said, the following week, we'll be working with David and his staff and team to finalize these drawings and hit the street February 10th. So with that, we'll be advertising the legal newspaper, the Minnesota Builders Exchange, and more importantly, starting to engage local contractors via phone calls and solicitations to try to capture as many bidders as we can on this project. The way it's kind of setting out now, we're gonna have 15 separate bid categories. That might fluctuate one or two depending on how Thursday's outcome, but that's kind of what we're looking for, breaking these down into smaller chunks of work to entice a lot of the local interests within the community. That being said, we have a pre-bid meeting set up on site, February 27th. And then a bid opening currently scheduled for March 11th, at which time we'll know where the tail of the tape is for the project.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Pete? Sharon, any concluding comments?
Yeah, I just want to add the other item that was in the packet was Contegrity's budget estimate, and I don't believe that has changed, Pete, and I did want to, and you can add to that if I'm wrong on that. But I wanted to comment, if you remember, when they presented this in December, we still were slightly over budget, about 600 some thousand, as you see in the packet. And council did authorize at the end of 2024 to use 655,000 of ARPA to kind of compensate for some of that. So we're still looking at being on track and in budget with this redesign, and hopefully the bids received will be consistent with that. Pete, did I miss anything on that? I believe it's still the same.
Sharon, I think you're spot on. Nothing major has come up since that time frame. Our biggest factor moving forward is to engage as many contractors to bid this project as feasibly possible, and really gain the interest of the local contractor base that you have in the community, and see if we can't take this thing into where it needs to be. So nothing's changed on the budget presented from December 10th.
Very good. Any other questions that the council has? If not, thank you, Pete. Thank you, David. I would entertain
Thank
a
you.
motion from the council to authorize the bids.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by C, seconded by John. Discussion on that motion. If not, we'll move to a vote. We'll close the voting. And the motion does pass. We'll move then to agenda item number 7, the bituminous overlays for 2025. The action item would be to consider the authorization to advertise for bids. I'll call on Jason Anderson, City Engineer, Director of Public Works.
Thank you, Mayor. This is our annual mill and overlay project that we typically do. The streets are listed in the agenda. We did go through these streets with the PIT committee on January 23rd, and they did motion to move this forward to City Council. With the streets that we have listed, we have that estimated at $622,200, and our budget is $650,000 for the project. We do list a few alternate streets in case we receive advantageous bids. Then it gives the council the opportunity to consider adding additional streets to the contract. We would recommend to move forward with the advertising. We would propose a bid opening of March 4th, and we'd bring the results to the council on the 11th of March.
Questions for Jason?
I have no question, I have a comment. I think that with the current budget we are dealing with, I think we should just bid the streets that you recommend and not do the alternate streets. Whatever the bid comes in, and if there's extra money, it can get turned back over to reserves or back to the budget, is what I would recommend. And I would make that a motion that we bid just the streets and not include any alternate streets.
Motion by Jim, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Second by Craig. Discussion? Jason, looked like you had something you wanted to say.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that the budget for the mill and overlay project is somewhat separate from the general fund levy. We do levy a specific amount for mill and overlays, and then we have a specified funding source for the overage in that account. So it doesn't have a direct impact to the levy percentage as presented.
But that money could be put back into reserves and used elsewhere, correct?
It could be used for future overlays.
Yes, or future over, that'd be fine. And I think that'd be adequate to push that off for another year if there's extra money.
Yeah, we'll see where the bids come in. I mean, obviously we'll know then, but I don't disagree with that.
Discussion on the motion.
And that is contrary to the recommendation that we did push forward
It
from
is.
PI&T. Just to be clear, Jason is correct. We did, had PI&T agree to push it forward as presented.
Yeah, both Craig and I are on PIT, and so it's just,
And John,
and John, yes.
3 members.
You never speak, so John, you got to speak up.
I feel like prices never go down, and so if we have overage and we can do these extra streets, I personally think that's the route to go. Because next year, if we push it forward, it's not gonna be cheaper, it's gonna be more expensive.
And I think it's important to say that anyone that feels that way should absolutely vote the way they feel. That.
Well, we'll always have the option. We'll see what the bids come in as.
We're
So,
not voting to not do those streets, are we? Is that the way this vote is going, that we will not, no way do these streets, or we'll discuss it at that point?
You want to clarify your motion, Jim?
My motion is just to have the bid do the streets that are there for overlay, because we are going to have tough budget problems in the next year funding this. So yes, my motion is just to bid. Obviously, as Craig would say, we can change the motion or change our vote on any given second and fourth Tuesday of the year. But my motion is to just do the recommended streets, not the
So
alternatives.
just to clarify, should the bids come in well under, your motion would not allow inclusion of the alternates?
It would not. I want that money to be carried over to next year because we are running into budget issues and, you know, we were talking about levy at work session, guys, and if it comes in under, maybe sometimes we need to save some money.
But you're carrying it over to next year to do similar work. It wouldn't be able to be used anywhere else, correct?
That is correct, that it's a dedicated street funding source, but what Councilman Lozinski is presenting would be consistent with what was done last year. The council did elect to stick with only the first streets and not add any alternates. If it's suitable to the council, I'd like to leave the plans as they are, but we'll keep that in mind when we bring forward a recommendation that we would likely not be adding streets. Is that
Correct.
fair? Okay.
Okay, does that make sense to you, John? Okay. Any other discussion on the motion?
Motion is to not include
The
the
alternates.
alternates.
Correct.
And in reality, it's the way it has been anyway, right?
That is correct. We haven't had alternate streets for probably a few years.
I think the only time we've done it is on seal coat.
It's more common on the Seal Coat project.
We can get a lot more bang for our buck on seal coat.
Just say that.
Other
That's a discussion for another day.
discussion on the motion?
I'll come back to that.
Now we'll move to a vote. I'll close the voting. And the motion passes. We'll move then to agenda item number 8, the WPA hangar apron and taxi lane reconstruction project. The consideration here is the professional services agreement with TKDA to design and do a project that likely would happen in 2026.
Yes.
Jason?
Thank you, Mayor. This existing pavement area, apron and taxi lane, is old bituminous pavement. It's over 30 years old. You can see the drawing on there. That drawing attempts to identify funding participation. The blue shaded area, that is the taxi lanes, and some of the parking and tie-down area is federally eligible. The rest of it would be state funding eligible. State funding is a 70-30 split. The federal funding is a 95-5 split. We are proposing to eliminate some pavement and eliminate 3 of the 6 tie-downs with this project to shrink the pavement area. But at the end of the day, this is pavement that does need to be replaced in the near term. With this contract, we would propose to consider both concrete and bituminous paving and do an analysis and come back for further discussion with the council once we've got that completed. This project's in our current CIP for $750,000. Estimated $135,000 federal, $427,500 state, and $187,500 in local costs. We did bring this to the Airport Commission on January 7th, and they did recommend that we move forward with this project. The $70,500 engineering services agreement would have to be carried locally, those costs, until we bid the project and look to make an award and apply for our state and federal grants. At that time, we could reimburse ourselves by the percentage funding share of the project. As you noted, Mayor, this is a project that we could easily frame as a 2026 construction. And with that guidance from the council, we can move in that direction.
Craig, any comments from the Airport Commission?
I didn't attend, but it had been discussed previously too in our CIP for the airport. So I know that it's got full support of the Airport Commission.
Okay, questions?
So Jason, with the federal funds being frozen right now, are you concerned at all? Because they do have are they at 95 or are we 95?
They are at 95 on the eligible portion of the project. So we're not concerned yet. We're just going to let this take some time to hash out. But I think that this project and this funding source that we'd be looking at would be available at the time.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Pam.
just a clarification too for council members. There's a judge not too many hours ago put a temporary restraining order on the freezing of those funds. So that there isn't a final determination on that yet.
Thank you, Pam. Pam Whitmore, City Attorney. Any other questions for Jason?
My only question, Jason, I asked EJ, that if we do it in 2026, we got to fund it through our budget in 2025. And I know I asked EJ, where's the money coming from in 2025 to pay the bill? What source are we using? 'Cause you indicated earlier that this isn't necessarily in our budget for that $70,000. So if it's not in our budget, where are we coming up at $70,000 till we get our money reimbursed 2026, even as late as 2027?
Go ahead, EJ.
So for now, it would probably be funded out of the general fund reserves or out of our fund balance, that we'd probably do a reimbursement resolution so that if this project is bonded for, whether it's this year, next year, whatever, that would then be reimbursed with any proceeds of those bonds or issuance of those bonds, which would probably come out of a capital projects where the bond monies usually go.
And if this project gets pushed into 2027 per se, can we still get reimbursed for it? Is there a time limit that we lose the reimbursement?
The grants usually have a 2 or 3 year window on them, and I would think that we could get reimbursed for these design costs in 2026. If we move forward with the design this summer and fall and the bidding, there's no reason why we wouldn't be on track to deliver construction at the beginning of 2026 and get it done in 2026 and be reimbursed.
So is there a reason we should do this now, or could we table this till June or July if it's a 2026 project to make sure that all funding and stuff is more secure?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. The way these projects are and the amount of coordination between the FAA and state aeronautics, they take a really long time to develop. I think that whenever we decide to take on the design, it's going to be a good 6-month window to get it designed, approved, bid, and then additional time to get the grant agreements. And then you're beholden to what arguments are going on at the federal level, at the state level with funding. As we saw with the SRE building, that was a little bit of a nightmare to get all those grants together and pull that together. Long story, much shorter. It just takes a lot of time to bring it all together. So there's going to be this lag. I don't think that there would necessarily be a benefit to waiting unless you just want to move the entire project schedule.
Okay, thank you, Jason. Any other questions for Jason? If not, you have the request and the recommendation. I would entertain a motion.
I move we approve the project and consider professional services agreement with TKDA.
Motion by Craig, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by John. Discussion?
I think this is a project that can get pushed for a while, and I know with our current budget, at some point, we got to say no. So I will not be supporting this at this time. And not that I don't support the project. I think it's a project that we could see how stuff weighs out with the federal government, because obviously you're correct. Pam, you're right. They have to work through the court system to make sure we have the money. And if we wait 6 months for this project, it's still, as you said, Jason, it takes about 6 months. That still puts us in track to do this project in 2026 if all the ducks line up.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Other discussion on the motion? If not, we'll move to a vote. Close the voting. And the motion does pass. We'll move then to Commission Board Liaison Reports. Craig?
I have nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Amanda?
Nothing.
Amanda?
EDA met last week. Marshall's is still on track to open. Looking at my notes. We did hear from Solugen too and got an update from them. Project's still on and moving forward, so that's still very exciting.
Very good. My commissions haven't met since we last met. John?
No.
See?
DEI met and we had a discussion on consensus decision-making. And then we just had some updates from It Begins With Us and Juneteenth event. So Begins With Us again, I'm going to put a plug in again, February 10th and 11th. And the mayor will be there to do welcome and Councilmember Lozinski will be there on a panel. So hopefully you'll join us.
Okay. And Jim?
I was out of town when MMU met and my other ones have not met.
We'll move then to councilmember individual items. Jim?
It's a beautiful day and a beautiful day tomorrow. Maple syrup should start running. Enjoy the weather.
See?
I don't have anything.
John?
No.
Craig?
Yeah, I just have one thing, Mr. Mayor. With the nice weather, I've seen a little uptick in traffic of our UTVs and unfortunately ATVs on the streets around town. And while I think it's really a good thing for the residents of Marshall that they're able to get a special vehicle use permit through the city clerk for vehicles that are properly equipped, properly already licensed with the DNR, and insured to get a permit to operate on the streets in Marshall. What I'll caution people is that that doesn't include the state and federal highways that go through the city of Marshall. I've seen some going up and down Main Street, some going up and down College Drive, and that's not allowed. I'm not a police officer, but I also don't want to cause problems where we tried to do things that make things more convenient for residents and citizens in Marshall, and then we have people that don't want to take advantage and do it the right way. I was troubled today. I saw someone on a four-wheeler not displaying a plate even with the DNR, going way over the speed limit down Marshall Street in front of my house. And that kind of set off for me to get on my soapbox tonight and have a little lecture about just follow the rules. It's not that complicated. If it's snowing out, I believe you can operate your four-wheeler with a blade without going through all of that. So, that's great. Take advantage of that. But don't abuse this. It's the same fight we went through with golf carts and looking at creep. My whole reason for voting against golf carts is I don't want to see something that I don't think is safe, and I don't want creep. And now we're seeing creep with the UTVs and ATVs. So people don't abuse it, take advantage of it, do it right, and enjoy it. And then I'll hop off my soapbox.
Well, on your soapbox, Craig, I believe state laws, if you're under 16, you're supposed to have a helmet on when you're in a UTV or and I don't believe ATVs are allowed on the road at all, are they?
Only
ATV and UTVs are two complete different animals.
Class 2 ATVs are allowed.
Okay. But I knew, under 16, you're supposed to have a helmet on, and I don't think that's ever been enforced, but it could be enforced.
Yeah. So I'm not speaking for the PD. I haven't even approached this with Officer Marshall. I believe our police officers and our sheriff's deputies and state troopers have better things to do than to have to chase after that. So people just behave. Don't make it an issue. It's certainly not out of control, but I'm seeing it enough. If I see it, then it's absolutely happening. So, just follow the rules. Do it right.
Anything else, Craig?
No, that's it. Thanks for the time on my soapbox.
Amanda?
Nothing.
Amanda?
No, nothing.
The only thing I would add is over the past couple of weeks, there's been an employee recognition events. This past Saturday, the city employee recognition event occurred. Number of milestones, whether it's 10, 15, 25, all the way up to a retirement at 46 years of employment. So, one of our strengths is that we have quality employees, and it was good to recognize them. And thank you, Sharon, and the committee that worked on this for your leadership on that. The previous weekend, there was the annual fire department awards and recognition event. Preston Stendrud was awarded the Firefighter of the Year award, which is voted on by the members. So it's a an honor, so congratulations, Preston. And I think we also thank the chief and the assistant chiefs for their leadership, not only for the year, but also for organizing a very, very meaningful event. So that is all I have. So we will move then to staff reports. Sharon?
You know, just starting to work on a lot of 2025 projects. I know it seems kind of calm. It is a little bit calmer because winter has been mild so far, but yeah, just prepping for the upcoming year. Lots of staff discussion on EDA projects. As we know, we're talking about budget and levies already for 26, and some personnel items as well. So takes a lot of time, and that's what we've been working on. So that's all I had, Mr. Mayor.
And Jason?
During a discussion at the PIT meeting last week, it occurred to me that we haven't talked about the College Drive project contractor. And just in case you're not aware, RNG Construction, local contractor, has been awarded the College Drive project. So that'll be great to work with them in the next couple of years in that project. Also, just wanted to point out that in these council chambers on Thursday, February 6th, MnDOT Aeronautics is hosting kind of a regional meeting to discuss the Minnesota Electric Aviation Network Study. Talks about strategic network of Minnesota airports that are suitable to support electric aircraft operations. So that'll be pretty interesting to find out what's going on in that world. But that'll be hosted here, and they've hosted some events here periodically.
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you, Jason. Any questions for Jason? If not, City Attorney Whitmore?
Nothing for the good of the whole. Thank you, Mayor.
We'll move then to the information items that the council has, including minutes from the Public Housing Commission. Any comments you want to make on those? No. Our listing of cash and investments, as well as listing of building permits and our upcoming meetings. Is there anything to come up at this meeting this evening? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Jim, seconded by Amanda. Discussion?
Which Amanda?
Yeah, which Amanda?
Surprise us.
Parts.
Any other discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. And we'll close the voting. The motion passes. We are adjourned.